I enjoyed school. I was one of those geeky kids who enjoyed school, enjoyed doing well. I especially enjoyed math and sciences, but the humanities as well. I'm not sure that I ever didn't think I would go to college. It seemed like something that was always in my future. The first person who comes to mind is actually my mom, and she grew up in a very poor rural community and did incredibly well in high school. And she knew that she was very bright, and she earned a scholarship to a university in the state where she lived. And her family could not afford the other expenses associated with college, the room and the board, and there weren't scholarships available, so it was not an option for her. And and I always thought, knowing that story, that going to college was something that I really should do if I had the chance, because it's something that she would have done if she had had the chance, and I think her life would have been very different. And part of that lesson that she was, trying to give me was that was something that I should plan on doing because I would have her support to do that. When I came home with B's on my report card, I was always asked why they weren't A's. So the standard was set very high. The expectations were very high that I would perform well academically and go on to college. So I didn't see any reason to fight that, considering how much I liked, learning and going to school. And I knew that having a college education would open up opportunities for me that there's no way I would have otherwise. I think that that's an interesting question in the context of being a first generation and not having anyone in the family who had been through the process before. So the fact is, I didn't research colleges. There was a top tier state university that was in the city that I lived in, and it didn't make sense to apply anywhere else, and so I didn't. I applied to one school knowing that I would be accepted. It was incredibly exciting. My first thought when I think about when I first went to college is that it was just incredibly exciting. The campus was huge. And I did live in the residence hall, which was great. So I was there on campus with plenty of time to go exploring. And I even arrived like a week before school started so that I could spend some time on campus and finding out where things were and exploring that, the different physical parts of campus corresponded to the different academic disciplines and areas, and looking at the art galleries and walking down the halls where there are science labs. And I just found it really exciting to be there and to know that there was this incredible amount of knowledge and people learning and researching, and it was like this just huge vista that was open to me that I now had access to. When you don't know what to ask and you don't know what resources are out there to ask about, that was my situation. And so I was very independent minded and arrogant in that I thought that I could figure things out from the information that was in front of me. And so I got a poor grade on an important paper because I assumed I knew how to write a research paper when in fact I did not. And had I sought some advice before beginning that work, I would have done a lot better. So I think, the problems that I experienced, particularly as a first generation student, was not having someone to let me know what I didn't know. I didn't have a safety net of any kind. And I think, I still did very well. I still had excellent grades. But I could have made a lot more out of it. I think one of the other things that students get encouraged to do, but we didn't always get information, at least at that time, about why it was so important, is to develop relationships with faculty and teaching assistants where that's possible. That is real important in the long run for mentorship, guidance, recommendations, references. A lot of reasons why that's important, and I didn't know that, and I didn't take advantage of that. I was not able to stay in school. I did not graduate in 4 years. Because I explained that my mother was very supportive of college and so forth. My father, not so much. He once said, "I don't understand why we're sending a girl to college." So there was a great deal of tension in the family around the fact that I was being sent to college while my brother, who was a little bit older than I was not going to college. I was going to a large university. They had agreed that I could live on campus, even though it was in the same city. It would have been a pretty grueling commute. So there was tension in the family, and that put demands and expectations on me that weren't fair, and couldn't be consistent. I couldn't be home as much as they wanted me to be home and still be doing well with my schoolwork and so forth. And there were the emotional factors, the jealousy, resentment, and so forth. And ultimately, I had to make the decision to not accept their financial support and get a part-time job and do college on my own. I work with a lot of very bright people. The students I work with impress me a very great deal, and I often hear from them their insecurities about their own performance. Students who are admitted to major universities, students who are admitted to challenging graduate programs, are usually people who have not had to fight real hard to be on top. You know, if you're on top in high school, you know you're going to go to a good college. But what you don't know or realize is that everyone there was top tier in their high school. And so you might not get to be top tier anymore, but that doesn't mean that you're any less than you were coming in. So as it gets more and more elite, as people go higher and higher in their education, I have seen incredibly brilliant young people feel stupid and express that. And I do enjoy being able to give them another view on that, and help them realize that they are, in fact, among the most accomplished and brilliant people around. Ask for help. Ask for advice. There are an enormous number of people here who will do whatever they can to help you succeed, and who have been doing this kind of work for quite some time. And if you ask for help, if you find someone you're comfortable with, who you've met during your various orientations and so forth, ask them. Ask them what kind of services are available to you as you find yourself starting to have any kind of challenges, be it homesickness or self-esteem issues, or you find that you're struggling with something academically and unexpectedly. So much work has been done since I was in college on understanding how to support students and how to help them succeed. So just the biggest piece of advice is to ask for help. And ask about what resources there are and take advantage of them as much as possible. Your fellow students who come from a long line of people with advanced degrees are growing up in an environment where so much of that is just common knowledge and taken for granted. And so they don't even have to think about it, because people have been talking about education around them all of their lives. And if you don't have that, then it's real good to get those perspectives and insights from someone else. There's another piece of advice that I would offer, not just to first-generation students, but to all students, and from the very beginning of college, before before you get entrenched in what I think is often the culture in higher education. And I would say, please don't obsess on the grades and the scores. If instead you focus on the learning and find what's interesting in what you're learning and get excited when you can about what you're learning, the grades and scores will take care of themselves. Your enthusiasm and excitement about the new information and the growth of your understanding and perspective will carry the grades just fine.